Alrighty, good morning. I hope you're well. Apologies for starting 3 minutes late. One of those mornings where all the technicalities just go south. So as it is, I've just walked in now and we're good to go. It is a Monday, it is another week. And as you know, when it comes to our weeks, we always begin with my presentation on Monday morning. And then from there, you have the presentation for Dr. Nelly, and Sylvia on Tuesday, then Anne on Wednesday, and then Dr. Nelly on Thursday, and then Friday we do our usual presentation. So today we are focusing totally on what we have here, which is simply the preparedness of the digital age revolution. And last week, those who followed, I was able to give you a brief and a background to what's going on in that space. And so today we'll pick it up. Just for the sake of those that may have missed it, a recap, I say that the digital age revolution is here and it's disruptive. And it's disrupting every aspect of business. I spoke about building platforms and how that's the new way to go. We spoke about the mobile phone industry. And so today I want to kind of touch on more industry. So let's talk a bit about the automobile industry. Now, the automobile industry is about to face, if anything, it's already facing major disruptions. But the biggest one that is coming, which a lot of people still haven't appreciated, but it's going to come, is the computerized cars. These will work with GPS so that they can drive themselves. And the implications is that in the next 30 years, maybe 30 is even exaggerated, 20 years, owning cars will no longer be necessary, as one will only need a car to call a car, and it will take them wherever they need to go at the fraction of current costs. And here's the thing, they will be self-driven. So in other words, they'll be driving themselves. It won't be you driving the car. It will just get you and take you wherever you want to go. And the first driverless trucks are already have been operating for a while in the developed world. And over the next 5 years, probably by 2030, they will have become the alternative to drivers. Remember, they never ask for breaks. They never get pay rises. They never go on leave or even have work stoppages, let alone health insurance and pensions. So when many companies work it out, it'll be cheaper to get driverless trucks than to actually have a driver. And these are no-brainers for shareholders. That means an entire industry is going to be totally disrupted. And computers on wheels means traditional cars are going to disappear within a generation. Now, think about this. If cars disappear, what happens to the the insurance industry? It completely transforms. This current situation with the taxes, especially the third party and what have you, that's going to completely lose. It'll be so much cheaper because computerized vehicles have the ability to they drive in such a powerful defensive way that they hardly ever make accidents. In fact, it's zero. There'll be no accidents except cases where individuals just drive into the car itself or people just walk in front of it so that they get killed because they're committing suicide. But other than that, or they're completely not minding where they're going. But other than that, these cars are amazing. They are so safety conscious because they are driven by AI. And if you think what I'm saying is exaggerated, did you know that in the next 3 years, as I'm speaking to you right now, there's a major project that's taking place in this country, which is going to be driven by Starlink, which is Tesla and Elon Musk. Then you're going to have Facebook and Google. In fact, yeah, those are the major drivers. And what they're doing is they're going to be coming into the country to push a completely Wi-Fi filled zone. So they are working to put Wi-Fi across the whole country. They're already working hand in hand with one of the leading local service providers in the space of internet. And they're going to be doing that. So which means in the next 3 to 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, internet will be free. Will be like the whole country will be Wi-Fi zone. And that, okay, maybe not the whole country, but all the major cities are going to be Wi-Fi zones, starting with Lusaka. The implication for that, ladies and gentlemen, is that if internet becomes free, a number of things will leapfrog and completely change. But here's the biggest issue. If you have internet covering the whole city, that means now drones that are operated fully by AI can work. That means cars now can go completely go technical. In other words, they can be driverless. That means your online presence goes to a whole other level. You think the internet is accessible right now? That's going to take us to a whole other level. Service phones are going to be phased out. Service phones, for those who don't know what those are, is those little dumb phones that don't have any internet on them. Those are going to disappear. So the simplest handset will be a smartphone. But here's where things get a bit more interesting. The metaverse is going to come more strongly, because the reason these guys are investing so much money in this infrastructure is because they want that metaverse to become the next level. There is something in technology called augmented reality. Augmented reality is where you have things existing in cyberspace that are overlaid in the real world. And so you'll be able to wear certain types of spectacles, and those spectacles have a superimposed screen on them, which allows you to see stuff in 3D, which is not there. So I'm sure you've seen, those of you who watch the Avengers, you see, what's his name? I've forgotten his name, the Iron Man guy. And he'd Robert Stark, and he'd be, manipulating stuff that's not there. That's going to be able to happen because now you have these things projected in the augmented reality, or what we call the metaverse, but superimposed in the living world. This is where we're going. So there is massive implications for that, because in the future, the hardware, this baby here, is going to move completely 100% online. And that means hardware and processors and interfaces will all be online, and all you need are just glasses and a special little receiver that's able to tap into that. So all your work will sit in the cloud, your windows, your apps, all the apps, everything will be in virtual space. That will no longer be on a gadget like this. And what that then means is that we move to the next level of reality, and that's what that internet is about. And by the way, they want to bring 5G. 5G means the speeds that we begin to achieve are going to be way, way higher than anything you can imagine right now. And so that means the ability to operate this metaverse and see these super processes going on are all going to be done online. So your processors will no longer be sitting on a gadget like this. The processor will sit in the cloud, and what will make you access that processor, oh, by the way, in case I'm speaking Greek, processor is like your RAM on the computer. The greater your RAM, the more applications you can run, and your gadgets don't go down. The reason why some of your gadgets are so RAM, which is some gadgets are not having the capacity to handle calculations. And on computers, these are your processors like the Intel Core 3, Core 5, Core 7, and the generations, 5th generation, 7th, 9th, 11th generation right now, computers are on 11th generation and 12th generation. So this means that they can calculate and move and do so many things in a super way. The implications are that so many things we think are critical and cardinal today are disappearing. And that I mean, that's why I keep saying, are you ready for the digital age revolution? So the automobile industry is going to transform in ways you can't even begin to imagine. Driving schools, they'll almost become defunct. And I'm talking about 10, 15 years from now, because the only issue that will stand in the way is the capacity to computerize. And you know very well, cars aren't staying that long. All the new cars are coming more and more computerized, more and more different, and more integrated with technology, so that's going to happen inevitably, I assure you. Now, the next area which is going to be really will really change is the mobile phone service operators. Now, speaking of phones, like I said, the big network operators don't make money. I've said this before. They don't make money from voice calls or even can imagine
Rev, you have disappeared.
Rev, we can't hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. I lost my internet. My deepest, sincerest apologies. Sorry about that. Very sorry. The networks just lost it, and then I had not done the backup. So apologize about that. So anyway, so continuing. Thanks, Auntie Sylvia. So continuing, like I say, the mobile service operators have realized that this is actually a big deal. So they have all shifted, like I said, they've gone into Hello Tunes, sports updates, they've linked and connected with companies like Facebook and Google, and they're doing, and of course they're going to hire out their networks to facilitate this internet, which is free. So you can imagine it's going to be free on the network, it's going to be free in the open air, and all this means that particular space will transform. So mobile phone operators have already realized this, and that's why they are moving to build the platform to offer it as a means to be ridden on. And that, my friends, has implications for all of you here, myself included. This is the time that any one of you who's doing any kind of business and you're not positioning yourself on the internet, you're mad. No, like I mean it, seriously, you're mad. I mean, let me give you an example of how things are changing. The metaverse is growing in a massive way. By the way, those who don't know what that is, that's your online platform. That's your virtual reality in cyberspace. So they're building a whole world there. Companies are already selling real estate in the metaverse. And if you think the metaverse is a small place, right now there's 1.5 billion people that are online in the gaming world. So all the major games that you can think of are now sitting online. You know, of course, you got things like Minecraft and whatever. Now, these have all gone virtual. So those who've got the right connection speeds are able to go and compete on Minecraft. They can go and compete on some of these massive platforms. Absolutely amazing. And what really stuns me, this is the part that makes me know that even us as Africans are just at another level, is that as I'm speaking to you, some of the best gamers in the world in those spaces aren't even from Europe or America. They're from Africa. They're from South America. They're from Asia. And I'm talking Africa. Yes, Africa. Some of our best gamers in that space are in Africa. So that tells you we have a generation, we have people that are transitioning into that space. So back again to my point, what are you doing to take advantage of that space? Because something absolutely amazing, shocking, and stunning is happening in that space. If you're not positioning yourself in cyberspace, you are losing out. Let me tell you, I won't even lie to you. A lot of the skills, a lot of the knowledge I've had to gain in these last 5 to 10 years is because as a person who studies the future and the trends of the future, I am an amateur futurist. I have seen that this is where we're going, and anybody that does not position themselves in that way will become irrelevant. As I speak to you, like I said before, they're selling real estate in cyberspace. You remember billboards that we have physically? They've now, a number of them have moved online, and not just online, in cyberspace. So as you play your video games, those who are gamers, you will come across billboards which will flash in your game, and there'll be ads. Is that crazy? And of course, because Google, Facebook, and all these guys have been collecting metadata on us since time immemorial. I mean, Google knows you and me better than we know ourselves. Is that crazy insane? So what they've done is they will bring up ads specifically tailored for you. That's how crazy that space is. And so you will see stuff there. And to help you see what I'm talking about in a very powerful way, you look and see, for example, Facebook as you use it, or Google. You'll notice that when you meet certain people, I've seen this, you meet certain people, you don't even talk. You just meet them and interact with them. And within a day or two, they appear on your phone. A little pop-up will come and say, do you know this person? And it'll ask if you want to be friends with them. I mean, that's because your phone and their phone were in close proximity in cyberspace, and the sensors realize that if these people are 1 to 1.5 meters near each other, then and they've been together for the last 30 minutes to an hour, this thing can conclude that you met and you discussed. And so it will now bring that person as a friend connection on Facebook, on Twitter, and all these platforms, because it knows that you interacted with them already. If you save their number, well, let's not even start. That's automatic. That's obvious. This is what cyberspace is looking like. And that's why many of you today have to be so vigilant, so quick, so, super sharp in understanding that we sit in a very interesting space, and the playing field has been completely leveled, that anybody can access if you have the knowledge. Cyberspace, like I said, is the next real estate. We know, for example, that in media, things have changed so much. We are now seeing traditional media really struggling. I contribute to the Daily Mail. And I remember the other day we were having a conversation with the acting MD, and she was telling me that print media is really suffering, like it's about to take a major hit. And the reason is because of online media. There is another phenomenon that a lot of people did not count on, which is very powerful. It's called citizen journalism. Citizen journalism, ladies and gentlemen, that's the idea that when any event occurs, there are people with smartphones and they will film it. Do you know what that implies when it comes to the ability to A, control the news and what comes out, and then B, to get, what would you call it? A picture of what really took place when it took place. In the past, stories could be controlled. They could break them after maybe a day, maybe half a day, because they could manipulate it to suit an agenda, then send it out. Today, that's changed. When events occur within minutes, some of them happen live. People are already there, they start filming. Now that, of course, has a certain level of insensitivity, I admit. But here's the plus side of that. It means information is coming to all of us in real time. That changes how news can be handled. It changes how even the big platforms can manage news. It's really changed the terrain. And that means everything about news and its traveling, its information dissemination is different. I have watched BBC Eyewitness, and I've seen amazingly how using real-time recordings from people and using Google Earth, they can be able to locate places. I mean, they can identify places. For example, one of the most amazing stories I saw recently, many know this, is when you had this Chinese man in Malawi who was filming videos, and one of them went viral, very racist videos, where he was teaching the Chinese and African poor kids in compounds and stuff, how to say, I am black, I'm a monkey, I'm an idiot, whatever he was saying on those videos. And he was telling them to say that in Chinese, and then he'd lie that he's actually, teaching them Chinese, when in reality, he was actually pushing a stereotypical Chinese racist kind of narrative. And apparently, he was making a lot of money out of those videos, because then they would go share them on Chinese social media platforms where there'd be massive views, and that would lead to income for him. And when that information crossed over into our circles and people began to be concerned about this Chinese who were doing that, the BBC and a number of individuals and rights organizations got together and put resources and began to use what we call video forensics to try and identify where those videos were taking place. It's absolutely amazing. Of course, it's quite some work, but they were able to trace the person filming those videos using location on Google Earth. You'll be amazed how much detail there is on the paid version of Google Earth. The paid version of Google Earth will give you features down to literally a square mile. And you will see all these features, and it's got this 3D rendition where it can render a 3D image, and you can kind of get an idea where it is. And so, of course, with a bit of detective work, people are able to kind of zero in. The other case was the Cameroonian slaughter of about 23, 24 women and children at the hands of gunmen. And somebody filmed that some 2, 3, 4 years ago. And again, using what I'm telling you, they were able to trace that to Cameroon, down to where it happened, like literally down to even a period. They were able to guess the period when this could have taken place. That's how crazy video forensics is. Now imagine once the AI has gathered enough data over the next 5 years of every topographical place on Earth and every movement of every key instrument. Can you imagine what that will mean? And now that we're speaking of cyberspace and what these things are doing, another area that I can tell you is going to disappear. And this one I'm not even doubting at all. It's an area on how we write articles. You know, there's two industries. One is called copywriting. I do copywriting. Then there's journalism, where you write and report issues, and then instruction manuals. My friends, as I'm speaking to you, there's AI online that is able to produce articles. I mean, I was stunned. I write articles and I use a lot of technology for my work. But what I saw, you can put key subjects and this AI will produce an article. Now, granted, the article will be dodgy, but it can produce an article. And don't forget that AI is learning exponentially. So it may do something dodgy today, but once it's corrected over the next 2 to 3 years, once more people get on that platform and begin to work with it, it learns. So it learns how to put topics in order and how to just correct everything. In the next 2 to 3 years, it'll be unrecognizable. I've also used the AI on my computer. This is it's like Alexa and Siri. Siri is on Apple and Alexa is here on Google, Android. And these two assistants are insane. If you work with these things, they learn you so well that they get to a point where they can actually carry out a relatively interesting conversation. But one of my good friends, Kayambila Mpola Masaka, he's big on AI. He and an entire community have created a platform where they have literally, for lack of a better word, created AIs that they converse with. I've gone on those chatbots to have conversations with those AIs. It's scary. You could swear you're talking to a human being, but you're not talking to a human being. And those are experimental, they are open-ended, and they are able to completely converse with you. And the more you chat with them, the more they learn about you, your temperaments. And remember, on especially on Siri and Apple, they even have platforms where you can plug your entire house with all these speakers and microphones. So you could be carrying out conversations with this thing every day. I don't know how many of you have watched is it Joaquin Phoenix? I think that's his name, Joaquin Phoenix. Film Her. That film Her, H-E-R, is about this man who falls in love with an AI and well, I won't tell you the story, but the very interesting bit about that story is how this guy has this literal relationship with an AI that is so interesting. I don't even know what words to use for it. And don't forget that right now we're sitting at the cusp of the metaverse at a whole other level. And so a lot of these AIs can be projected into a cyber character, an avatar, if you like. And then they can become your friend there, but it's an actual AI. It's not a human being. And this is where we're headed in terms of interactions between humans and machine. And the level of clarity, the level of comprehension and interaction is mind-boggling. What am I saying to you? Over the next 5 years, I tell you, okay, 10, I just don't see journalism being where it is anymore. Most of these news companies won't need a journalist to write an article. All they need to do is just put keywords. And that's already happening as we speak. They just put some keywords and articles will be produced by AI. Some of them arguably better than the ones written by human beings. And if you think I'm kidding you, go check for yourself. So what am I saying in short, ladies and gentlemen? I am telling you that we are seeing a change at unprecedented levels. Unprecedented levels. And this then means you and I are at the cusp of something new. And if you don't adapt, if you don't begin to think beyond the AI, if you don't begin to think beyond the disruption technology is bringing, you will become defunct. One of the reasons, this is my hypothesis, one of the reasons I believe why there's this drive for depopulation is because there's going to come a time when machines will be able to do everything that a human being can do, which then begs the question, why do you need laborers? Why do you need laborers? What are laborers for? Because right now you've got machines that can operate on AI, they can build houses, they can go and mine. In fact, virtually every labor-intensive job today can be done better by machines than by humans. So which then means, if this be the case, what happens to all those humans who lose their jobs? All the bus drivers, because even buses now can be driven by AI. So the buses, the trucks, the taxis, all those who go in the next 10, 15 years, what happens to all those people? So there's this idea about universal basic income that will be paid to people. But the question is, paid for what? Okay, because there's still product that has to be produced, which operates on the premise of commerce. And that's why there's been a drive to get rid of people, to minimize the number of new human beings being born and get rid of the ones that are there so that you can drop the number down to a place where people can live on a new earth, heaven-like earth, where everything is run by machines and people can focus on being creative or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is, the idea of dystopian futures where machines, social strata, Elysium kind of stories, that is not too far-fetched. But my point of this series, and next time we'll go to the next topic, is very simple. It's to alert you that things are changing. The landscape is changing. The digital world is now invading everything about our lives as we know it. And in my next one, I'm going to go into showing you more areas that are being disrupted. You'll be blown away. You'll be shocked. You'll be stunned. If our kids are not versatile in this future, they'll be screwed. And lastly, the education system must shift from its current extremely inefficient method of memorizing, because computers can memorize better than any human being. We must shift to a place of comprehension and, more importantly, innovation. How do you use technology to innovate? How do you solve problems in real time in your neighborhood, in your community with the aid of technology? That's the kind of education we need. We can't be learning history. I feel history is going to become a different kind of lesson because we can access that information. If the whole Neuralink project, where they're going to link the mind with computers, is going to happen, why would you need to memorize anything when you can access it using your brain? Because it's connected or interlinked to a network out there. You see where I'm going? So things are changing. Things are changing, and we must be ready to adapt to that change. That's what I'm talking about right now. So anyway, on that note, I want to thank you so very much for everything that we've done today and the lessons we've learned and how we've been able to proceed. And now we should be at a place where we are now able to progress. Tomorrow, Auntie Sylvia will be here and you will be able to learn more. But next week when I come, be prepared. There is another very exciting lesson around this whole issue. In fact, I'll be very blunt with you. Next week, we will be looking at the other aspects that are being disrupted: diagnosis, consultancy, banking, electronic platforms, and even agriculture. You think those are not going to be disrupted? They are being disrupted as we speak. And so make sure you adapt. Takeaway word for today: adapt or die. It's that simple. Tech is here. It's invaded your life. And if you're not going to leverage tech, it will take you out. Have a great day, and we'll certainly catch up tomorrow.